First of all, thanks everyone. This is the last session, and you've come for the best of the whole conference, hopefully. And we are going to talk about, just like, since it's the aviation theme, I'll use a corny example, is when you're flying and taking off, if you didn't have any of the metrics, if the pilot didn't have any of the metrics or didn't have any windows, any insights into how the plane is flying, what the route is like, you would never be able to take off. Similarly, as many of our customers are going towards cloud, they are not able to move all their data assets to the cloud, whether it's performance reasons, whether it's latency, whether it's compliance that they have for their data assets. With a SQL Server enabled by Azure Arc, our goal is to give you all the metrics, all the information, all the insights through our telemetry and intelligence capabilities that can help you make that journey more seamless as possible. I'm Dhananjay Mahajan, or they call me DJ Data in Data Exposed, and I'm here to talk to you about how in Azure Arc we are going to make your journey easier, because we understand that as you try to move to the cloud, many of you are using more of a hybrid cloud strategy. In fact, 92% of our customers are doing that. And some of them are using the multi-cloud strategy because they're not all on one cloud. They're using Azure cloud as well as other clouds. So what I'll show today is how you can take your SQL servers where they are and connect them to the Azure cloud, so you get visibility into your entire real estate. You can secure those databases even if they are off Azure. You can get some of the tools and services that are available in Azure today, and then at the right point of time you can make that migration decision. Now, with that, I just try to do a quick check with the audience. And I know we won't be able to see the one that's online, but among the folks here, how many of you have all your data exclusively in public cloud? No one has it. Okay. How about just on premises? No, or anybody who has data SQL servers in their own data centers? Yeah, half of you. And how about SQL Server that's residing in AWS or Google Cloud? Potentially. Yeah. And sometimes those decisions are made outside of the data tier, and that's where we want to make sure that you have that observability in terms of inventory, best practices that you should use for SQL Server, performance, and license visibility. One of my biggest customers, who is a big retail company in the US and worldwide, they're using Azure Arc to get an inventory of all of their SQL servers, understand what licensing models are deployed, and finding out that those that don't need the more expensive licensing can actually save, because we are also giving you a billing model. So as customers want to use data and AI assets, data is a prime asset that runs many of the businesses. The challenges that they're having is app latency, which we hear a lot from our customers. I have a customer that's doing a gaming site, and their customers are actually bidding for when they're watching, since it's European football, and they want to have near real-time responses for their customers. They cannot move those data assets to the cloud. The other thing is disparate data systems, which means their data is in silos, and it's very hard to move that data around. And thirdly, as you want to use AI and data for your assets, there's always increasing cost to get the best performance. So if you have a lot of CapEx, given the way processors and memory and are going, if you want to do real data and AI, acquiring those hardware assets is also expensive for our customers. That's where using some of the public cloud assets becomes a valuable proposition. Now, As we see, and as we saw here as well, many of our customers have their data on premises, and as they start moving that to the cloud and modernizing their data workloads, all workloads cannot have the same maturity level. Whether they are missing a feature that's not available in the public cloud, or whether they have data constraints. So there are a few workloads that will continue to stay on premises for a while. In fact, at least two of the customers I talked to, one in the gaming business and one in the banking business, said we thoroughly test. We test for 6 to 9 months before we move anything into a new database or data center. So for those customers, being able to test and creating a hybrid strategy for their application becomes really important. Next week, after I go back, 2 weeks from now, I don't know, I'm jet lagged. 2 weeks from now, when I go back, I'm going to spend an entire week working with a customer to battle test their applications using Azure Arc, so that we make sure that those applications, when they move eventually to Azure SQL Managed Instance, they get the same performance out of that workloads. And at Microsoft, we want to make sure that whatever optimizations we are using in public cloud to run SQL in Azure can be relayed over to you, so you can get the best practices running in your current data center. So we want the knowledge that comes from our team on how to run SQL Server the best to help you out. So the process for cloud migration starts with kind of roughly 4 stages, including a discovery phase, where you're discovering all the SQL servers that are there in your enterprise. A planning phase, when now you're getting an assessment on which SQL servers are ready, which ones are not, what size of SQL server do we need. And once you've done that, you want to replicate those databases in the cloud and optimize, secure them, protect them, optimize them, govern the data that's running in the cloud. So that's where Arc comes in. Arc allows you to do many of these capabilities today without moving your data assets into public cloud. Now, that does not mean, and I've not seen a single customer who says, oh, I don't need to move to the public cloud. No, think about this. If you're moving your data assets into public cloud, and you should move them, because Microsoft will manage the hardware, will take the CapEx, and you'll get the economies of scale with Microsoft running. But we know that there are challenges in doing that, and so we are offering you through Arc a service where you can deliver database as a service that you manage, but Microsoft assists you with all the knowledge we have to run things at scale. Assist you in what ways? Is to manage, govern, and protect. Manage your entire SQL Server real estate by giving you a single view wherever you have SQL servers running, on-premise or in third-party clouds, or in Azure cloud. Capture key performance metrics, and today we have some which I'm going to talk about in public preview, but there's more coming based on knowledge and information we get from seeing our other customers running, as well as how we run our own databases in the cloud. And then gaining proactive insights from all these metrics that we are collecting to make sure that you get the best practices assessment on how to configure, secure, as well as operate your SQL servers wherever you want to run them. Next comes in business continuity. As we know, cloud is all about business continuity. I don't take backups of the files that I store in OneDrive or any other drives you may be using. We want to, same thing with Azure SQL DB, is that, Azure SQL DB, you set a policy, Microsoft Azure takes care of backing it up. And then we also have capabilities to give you high availability across data centers or in data centers and automating the backups. Azure Arc is bringing some of that functionality over to you, even if your SQL Server doesn't reside in the Azure cloud. And then one of my customers who is in manufacturing is using Azure Cloud, and transportation is using the Azure Cloud to keep their backups so they can restore it. And then govern and protect. So you want to make sure your data assets, which are extremely important are protected. Well, Microsoft Defender for Cloud, which was available to all Azure SQL Managed Instance, Azure SQL VM, and Azure SQL DB, is now available through Arc at a discounted price to your SQL Server assets that are on premises. And then you get central insights and governance using Purview, as well as you can enhance your security. So if you have SQL Server 2012, anybody with SQL Server 2012 or 2014? Oh, wow. Well, that has gone out of service, and now you can get extended security updates through Azure Arc. So at a discounted price too. So all of these capabilities, of course, you have better capabilities if you move this to Azure, but like Database Watcher is also, what I'm going to talk about is the equivalent of Database Watcher for your SQL servers outside of Azure. And I'm going to talk about the first pillar today. I just finished talking about the middle one, and the last one is something we had covered midweek. And then all of this is also going towards a cloud-like billing model. Customers who have bursty traffic actually are coming to us and saying, we don't want that volume license approach where I'm paying enterprise license and then keeping my SQL servers idle. Well, with all the observability you'll get, you will be able to identify which SQL servers can be optimized by using a pay-as-you-go licensing model. That is attractive for those of our customers who have bought volume license for many years, and then they've found that a large majority of their SQL servers actually have bursty traffic. And then you can use pay-as-you-go model. So with that, that's kind of summarizing what Azure Arc has in terms of capabilities. Before I dive into any further details of the observability and insights part, any questions about Azure Arc? So, and by the way, since all of you have taken the time to be here so late on a Saturday, I have some stickers for you, or if you want, for your laptops. But of course, you have my contact as well, so you can always reach out if you have questions later. So let's look at how Azure Arc gets you a good insights of your capabilities. I was at the Ask the Experts, and one of the DBAs who is part of one of your government organizations, I won't call which, said, I've been told I have to move all my database assets to the cloud, and I don't even know where all these SQL servers are. I just joined 6 months ago, and we have apparently a catalog of 200 SQL servers, but that may not be all. Well, Azure Arc is a gateway, a great way for you to get a single view of all the SQL Server instances. What it requires is for you to deploy the Azure Arc agent. So you get the Azure Arc agent, and there are ways to deploy it at scale, so you don't have to go to every host. That's kind of outside the scope of this conversation, so that I can focus on the observability parts. But once you deploy the agent on the host, it goes, scans the machine, and if it finds SQL Server running on that, it automatically installs the Azure SQL extension. The extension is the code that has all the capabilities of collecting telemetry and transporting it over to Azure and analyzing it. So it makes it super simple. Any of you customers using SQL Server have software assurance? Okay, Robert here has. If you have software assurance, this functionality is included in software assurance. So it's included for free. You should just deploy this. There's no questions about that. You get a single view of the entire inventory, and I'll show you with a demo in a few minutes. And you can combine to see Azure SQL and hybrid SQL all together in one space. And let me go into a demo. This does blink a little bit, so give me a few minutes to adjust. Okay, there we go. So when you've deployed those agents at scale, on all of your SQL servers, on all of your Windows servers or Linux servers, you get a complete inventory of all your resources, and they show up in the Azure portal. This is the Azure portal. I've logged in, and I can see machines here. I can see Azure Stack HCI. I can see Kubernetes clusters. I can even see my VMware vCenters in here. And I've gone to look at the Postgres, look at SQL servers, look at SQL Managed Instance. We have Azure Arc SQL Managed Instance as well if you're running Kubernetes. And this gives me a quick view of all of my SQL servers wherever Arc has been enabled. It not only collects information about the SQL server, it also helps you nicely organize it based on what subscription is being used, are these connected or not, and you give a location. So now the location is the location which you want to use as the closest Azure region, which will reflect these resources. And just a quick minute. And once these are reflected in Azure, you can start doing all the analysis that I'm talking about. Yes, question there. So great question, because my engineers are working on making that possible right now, is to be able to group. Oh, yes, thank you. Yeah, so the question is, I'm showing you one tenant with one subscription. Can I show all those resources if there are multiple tenants that are reporting together? Right. You can, so the question is, I have multiple customers, and this is typically even an enterprise or a managed service provider, and I want to manage this for several customers in using Azure Arc. Today, you would have to segregate based on each subscription per tenant, but we are trying to create ability to move those resources if you want to move them across tenants or across subscriptions or across resource groups. How do you manage them today? Do you keep them in a separate resource group, or you have a separate subscription per tenant? I see. Okay, so the gentleman here uses Azure Lighthouse, and it's probably a managed, as a managed service provider, you're providing this as a service. So some basic capabilities are available today. I would love to have your contact so we can start, because I'm seeing now Azure Arc being deployed with so many customers that now managed service providers are also getting very interested. So there are some capabilities you would need in terms of managing across tenants and having segregation between tenants that has not been fully designed and developed yet. But in terms of organizing these, yes, you can manage them through different tenants. The other mechanism which we are proposing today is using tags. So let me go through this experience, and then that may not be the best way, but there is a way which works for some enterprises. So as you can see, I can see all my servers and SQL servers here in this list. And you can browse through them, and let's click on a couple of ones that you can do a search. You can filter them out. I've filtered two of these. One is an enterprise edition, one is a standard edition. If I click on one of these, it actually has, Azure Arc has collected metadata about that SQL server in terms of what resource group it's part of, what version of SQL Server it's running, what type of license edition it is, whether it's running on Windows or Linux. It also has a whole bunch of licensing information. So this one has a license with software assurance, which means all these services that I'm talking about will be turned on. Inventory is available for free for all licenses, whether you have developer edition or you have standard edition or enterprise edition. But some of the other capabilities are not available. Most of the management capabilities are only for software assurance and license or pay as you go. Then you can look at the version information. You can understand if we have enabled it for automatic upgrade. You can get insights into the status of whether the backups are happening or not. And so it starts giving you all of this information, and all this metadata is collected. You can categorize it. You can even add tags. So if you have a tag that says, tenant, A versus B, you can add those tags at this point, or you can say business or what have you, business unit, and you can say business unit A versus B, and you can tag these things. So there's some there's some basic ways you can start organizing these resources, tagging them, understanding how many SQL servers are, and even slicing and dicing this information. Now, a lot of the data that's being collected is actually available in raw format, and we have a way where you can create your own custom dashboards. So if you go to this GitHub repo, we actually have a JSON file, and that JSON file will show you how to create a sample dashboard. All you need to do is download this JSON file and import it in as a new dashboard, and suddenly your services will light up into this type of a dashboard. So here's a quick JSON file that we created literally within minutes, and now I can slice and dice and create my own customized dashboard. It tells me how many of my Azure SQL servers are Azure managed instance versus Azure SQL Server on VMs, or Azure enabled SQL servers. And as you can see, it's our demo environment, but even with a lot of customers, there's a large estate of SQL servers that can be Arc enabled today. I can understand how many databases. I can go slice and dice by type of database. I can start getting into a license dashboard. Now, this is very interesting for those of the customers who are trying to see, are we using, what license type are we using? If it's paid license, that means it's enterprise edition or standard edition. And then they are also, some of them are trying out pay-as-you-go models as well. So you can download how many databases per server you have, what SQL Server editions are you using, how many cores by edition. So rich amount of which ones are, what's the compatibility mode, are they being encrypted or not? So I can go in and check which databases are not getting encrypted and encrypt them. What SQL Server versions are running, as obviously, there's 2019 is quite high here. Followed by 2016 to 2008. Okay, we have that in our test environment just to test out. And it also tells you what recovery mode has been deployed for those clusters. So like I said, Azure Arc collects a lot of rich information that can help you slice and dice your SQL Server instance space and start making decisions. One of the capabilities that I don't have time to talk about today is we're going to use this to also start helping you understand, based on these metrics, which SQL Server offerings in Azure are the best for you to move those assets. Are they ready to move to Azure SQL running in a VM, Azure SQL Managed Instance, or Azure SQL DB? So lots of rich information that can help you going. The other thing we are also collecting is performance metrics. So let's go into performance metrics a bit, jumping ahead. Oh yes, before I go there, let's also look at best practices assessment. Okay. Wait. Okay, there we go. Now, customers want to make sure that their SQL servers are properly configured and can be used to understand, are they using the best practices that are available in their environment. So for that, we have something called best practices assessment. This was only available for SQL servers running in the Azure cloud. Using Arc, you can now do best practices assessment on your SQL servers running in on-premises or in a third-party cloud. And these best practices assessment give you opportunities for performance improvement. make sure you understand which databases are backed up, which ones are not. There are over 450 rules that can help you evaluate your SQL Server at scale and give you a prioritized list of things that you can do. And that can help you improve the uptime of your SQL servers, enhance the security posture, and increase the efficiency for DBAs. So with that, let me see if I can give you a quick view of best practices assessment. Okay. Okay. So what Azure Arc has done is it has collected a whole bunch of metadata about the SQL servers, uploaded it to Azure, and we run something called as best practices assessments that helps us analyze with over 450 rules across your entire SQL estate, are those properly configured. So as you can see, across our entire real estate, data collected at this time, and we are looking at one instance name. If you look at the total number of issues, it has passed on 379, and there are 3 high issues. It can go based on the types of rules presented, whether it's administration type rules, system rules, application rules, and it provides you actionable guidance. So as you can see, it has presented those results in a prioritized manner, going from results that are high impact to medium impact to low impact. Now let's look at a high impact rule. And it says a lock page is causing a performance and memory problem on this SQL Server 2019 instance. So, and it even gives me recommendations on what I should be doing. It says enable instant file initialization. It gives me details about what happens, and it gives me a link to a document. And sometimes it may even give me in this documentation a script that I could run and fix this problem. So best practices assessment is one of the first things many of our customers run. This can run on demand or on an ongoing basis and keep giving you reports. So as new SQL servers become available, you can continue to go through and make sure all of them are following Microsoft best practices standards. Okay. Any questions so far? Nothing online? Okay. Anything from you folks? Okay. What do you use any type of tools to monitor the performance of your SQL today? You do? What kind of tools do you use? SolarWinds, yes. Redgate. Telegraph. Oh. And Grafana. So you build your own based on Grafana dashboards. That's fairly common. Is SolarWinds and Redgate are used. Here our goal is to make sure we give you the metrics based on our knowledge of running Azure in the cloud at scale, and also metrics that are being used based on what we see customers running in their data centers that can help them ensure that they're getting the best performance. So we're creating an entire telemetry pipeline which can be used with built-in dashboards to view the performance. We are also making it possible for you to export that data, the metrics that we are collecting out of that pipeline, so you can use it for your own purposes. So let me go back to the slide deck. This can be helped to answer questions like, okay, it's going to come. There we go. Can I optimize my performance of the SQL servers based on the knowledge and information that Microsoft can give you to assist you? Can I troubleshoot this? Are there any security gaps? Am I doing the proper planning for capacity and sizing assessment. So when I'm ready to move these SQL servers to Azure SQL or Azure SQL VM or Azure SQL Managed Instance, I've created the right set of SQL deployments with the right configuration to do that move. That's why we are building some of the capabilities so that we can start collecting these performance metrics in near real time and present that metrics to you with out-of-the-box monitoring dashboards, while you can also use all this telemetry and logs that are secured and uploaded to Azure, and they can be eventually also being directed into your own subscription if you want to use Grafana, Kibana on your own, or use some of the Azure tools that we have, so that you can get better performance out of your SQL servers, get higher availability, make sure we can assist you as a DBA to deliver a service so you can get troubleshooting and maintenance tasks, and overall reduce the cost by giving you recommendations on if you're really utilizing your licensing appropriately. The functionality we have available today is raw performance counters that we are collecting with some dashboards out of the box. Some of this functionality that we are developing is more in the future, where we'll give you recommendations, migration assessments based on the data we are collecting. Today, we are collecting active sessions, CPU utilization, certain database storage, memory, performance counters, and storage I/O, and I'll go through that shortly. But that will give you a sense of what capabilities we are using today. Now remember, our goal is to give you the performance metrics that will give you recommendations on what's the best. So if you go to Tailwind, SQL 2019, which is one of our servers, you can actually go down to the performance dashboards for that. So if you go to that SQL server in your portal and you click down to say performance dashboards, these performance dashboards get shown, which are collecting data on a regular basis to give you a sense of what memory is being used, what CPU utilization is happening. You can see it for all the databases or select specific databases. Now, this data collection happens automatically. So as soon as you Arc enable a host with Azure Arc Agent and it detects SQL Server running on it, we have started collecting this data as long as that agent has connectivity over to Azure. And we start collecting data at 1 minute intervals, and in future we can even give less than that. You can select a time range of an hour or 6 hours or 12 hours or 24 hours. More coming as we get feedback. You can get storage utilization information, storage I/O information, data storage rights, and so on. And if something is missing, you can just go click Add Chart, and you can create your own performance or availability dashboards with, let's say, the storage I/O set of counters, and you can say, I want to look at how many read writes are happening, and you can quickly add those to the chart. So today we have started with a set of performance counters that are being used to showcase to you what is the realm of possibilities. We are also looking at what we do with Database Watcher in the cloud in terms of performance metrics that we use to fine-tune our SQL servers running in the cloud, to do cost savings in the cloud, and bring that knowledge over to you with your on-premise SQL servers. Any questions about the performance capabilities that we have currently been working on? This is in public preview, so you can deploy it and start using it today for your non-production service. And we are looking for active feedback on if something's missing in it. Yes? That's a great question. So the question was, we are using Redgate today, and some of the performance counters we see are also being duplicated there. So what is the advantage of Redgate? I'll be transparent with you. I've not done a comparison between the two. Our intent as being the SQL Server team is that we want to make sure you're using every ounce of CPU, memory, storage from your SQL servers. Redgate is a partner of ours, and we support them, and they do some deep dive, diagnostics. They also have other scenarios around dev test, which they might be good at. I'm not the one to evaluate that. I think I'm going to let you evaluate that. Our focus is to make sure if you're using SQL Server anywhere, it should get the best performance. It should get the best availability. So we are more focused on SQL Server, so you won't see other databases in here. Number two, our whole focus is to give you a comparison between SQL Server running in Azure today and on premises, so you can make a decision when and if to move that to Azure. Okay? While we would love you to move in Azure, we understand that you may have certain constraints, and we need to prove ourselves that we can meet your performance needs. In fact, 2 weeks from now, like I mentioned, I'm going to go over and be a whole week with one of our customers doing performance testing of their SQL workloads and seeing whether an Azure stamp or an on-premises stamp makes sense, and Azure Arc will be helping them doing the comparison there. They're also looking at third-party cloud because the infrastructure team loves the third-party cloud more than Azure. If that's the decision, we will give you data points to the SQL DBAs love SQL and Azure. We'll say, okay, we'll give you the data, and then the data can speak for itself. So that's kind of what our focus is going to be. Not having done the evaluation at Redgate, and you should do that, and they're a good partner of ours. So we do work with them to make sure that their solutions also have good data. Yes. Yes, the question is, does this step outside and look at IIS and .NET performance? I used to be in the .NET team. So this solution doesn't do that currently, but there's Azure Monitor and other solutions that may be doing it. It's been about 7 years since I did that business, the .NET app monitoring, but I used to do it, yeah. This one doesn't. This is my team working on the database part, but I think you bring up a great point, which is the application and database have to be looked together, the whole picture, yes. And that's where eventually we'll get there. You can't make a decision to just move the database without the application, right? But today, the topic and what we are talking about is primarily about what's running for the database piece of it. Arc is much more expansive than just the database part. So Azure Arc has some components that can help you do server monitoring and potentially .NET performance counter monitoring as well. But I think I would let the Arc platform team talk about it more than me. I don't want to divulge what I don't know 100%. Now, what happens when you have a SQL server that's Arc enabled? It detects one or more SQL instances running on the host, sends that DMV data set. So all of these performance counters, why they are the same in Redgate? Because it's based on the same source. The DMV data sets, service logs, they're securely sent to a telemetry pipeline and then stored in Azure and then presented in the Azure portal. Some of this data, the log data, can go to a log analytics workspace, so there is some cost. So let me be clear, if I said it is free, if you're using storage for log analytics on your own, it is not included. But if you're going to just use the portal and the performance dashboards that we created without exporting out that data and storing it in your own subscription, then this storage is available for free. So what's coming? Access to this data to go to your own store. So you can do your own Kibana dashboards if you love them, and we won't be able to create every dashboard for every customer. So we realize that, and maybe there are partners and MVPs who can take this data, export it out, and we want everybody to use SQL Server the best. So we want to give you the health state. Today I showed you performance dashboard. The team back in Redmond is already developing some work on health states. We are also going to give you alerting. What is monitoring without alerting? One of the most asked features is query performance insights. So helping you understand which queries are running slow. These are the slow running queries. Let's go, you make them faster. Here are a few tips to do it. And then, how many of you were here at the keynote? Okay, so if you weren't at the keynote, go watch it. I think it's available on YouTube. Bob Ward did a demo of Copilot. Think about that Copilot capability going to every SQL server, whether it's in Azure or not. So you can use that same Copilot capabilities in Azure and outside Azure. So that's how Arc is being built as a bridge, so you can start using some of the Azure services outside Azure. Now, it is important to remember that from a data analysis perspective, data warehousing, BI, and analytics is going in more and more in Fabric. So that for that functionality, you'll still have to move that data eventually to Azure. But while you have this, while you are in the current state, I think all of these integrations are coming, which will make your life a lot easier. And then do give us feedback on what you would like to see. A couple of quick areas before I open it up for Q&A. Some of you had SQL Server 2012 and potentially 2014, which has gone out of support. 2012 has, and 2014 will in June. Now you can use, one of the best used features of Arc is extended security updates. I have a large retail customer who has thousands, tens of thousands of SQL instances. They immediately scanned and found out which ones had SQL Server 2012 and enabled those instances to have extended service updates so that patches are deployed on schedule that they want. Customers, and the beauty of this is that these extended security updates, you can cancel at any time. So there is no hardcore commitment. This is where we are trying to bring the cloud-like billing model. If you move this SQL database into Azure, you stop paying for the ESUs. There's no need to purchase ERT plan, and the coverage can continue if you still want to keep that data at the same flat rate. All you need to do is go to a SQL Server 2012 instance. I mean, this is quick, so I won't show you, but if I had a SQL Server 2012 instance running there, you go to the SQL Server configurations menu, and in that, you will see based on usage type, whether you want to go to a pay-as-you-go model or you can use extended security updates. With extended security updates enabled, updates will get downloaded to your host and get applied on a regular basis. So this really makes it easy, and starting July 11, 2023, this billing will start on an hourly basis, and the plans have to be purchased for SQL Server 2012. Now available both for Windows and SQL. So if you have Windows Server running that also needs extended security updates, that's possible. Last but not the least, security on your data is important. So you can continuously assess, secure, and harden your hybrid and multi-cloud SQL Server estate against vulnerabilities using Defender. Defender, which was available only for Azure, now gets enabled for your on-premises. And if you have enabled Defender outside of Arc, you're getting a really high discounted price, because outside of Arc, you have to pay per instance. Here, you'll pay per host. So many customers are enabling Arc so that they can get the discount, and then seeing other benefits of Arc. And then we're also enabling Purview. How many of you have tried Purview? So Microsoft Purview is Microsoft's solution for data governance. And we are in public beta to help you govern, set controls on your data. Who has access? How long can they have access? Are they in the right roles? And so on. All of those can be done. Let me quickly show you a Defender demo. And Defender being a security demo, I have to record this because they'll make us shut down those machines that have security vulnerabilities in Azure immediately.
Security.
So
let's take a look
here's
at
Lance
Microsoft Defender
going through the demo.
Dashboard. Here I can see
Now, what Lance has done is he has an agent that is deployed on a SQL server. He has done has a security vulnerability on one of them, and he ran Defender for cloud. He enabled Defender for cloud on those servers and other servers, ran Defender on cloud, and he got this report. So he's going to talk through how Defender is helping catch these vulnerabilities.
My resources that are currently being protected by Defender for Cloud. I can see that most of my resources are being protected, but there's a small set here that still need to be covered by Defender for Cloud. I'll need to look into that later. But my eye is drawn here to this security alert, which is classified as a high severity. So I can actually click on this alert to get more detailed information about what's going on. And here on the security alert screen, I can see that there was a potential SQL injection attack on my Smart Hotel SQL server. And I can easily just click on this alert here to get more information about what this alert is. And I can actually click this button here to start taking action to remediate this alert. So here I can start to see right from within Azure, a single control plane, the logs that were collected about the SQL server. I could read more about this particular type of threat if I wanted to. And right here, Azure Arc is helping to provide me with potential options to prevent these future attacks going forward. And I can start to take those recommendations. So Defender here is helping me to provide me with the information that I need to harden the security of my data workloads and giving me additional peace of mind. Now,
so that's Defender, using Defender. So as you can see, Arc is here to help you enable cloud services on your on-premises to give you full 360-degree visibility, observability of your SQL server and data assets, give you insights into how you can get the best performance, making sure your data is secure and not compromised, making sure you can have extended security updates, so giving it to you at a discounted price, also with a billing model that's a cloud-like billing model, which is pay-as-you-go, and doing it in an efficient way so we can give you knowledge of best practices, because we have been running SQL Server for many years in the Azure cloud and have built that engine. So if you want to harness some of the benefits of that engine and make the most of that wherever you're running SQL Server. And when you're ready to move that to Azure Cloud, make the leap at the right time. So Azure Arc is your first step towards migration, and potentially for a long time, you will continue to have this hybrid environment as well as some data on premises, but we want to make sure you get the best experience out of SQL. So again, thank you for coming, the last session, and everybody stuck around patiently. So I'm going to go around, hand this, but happy to take any questions in the meantime. Any questions? Okay, well, thanks a lot, and let me hand off a few Arc stickers for your laptops. I will be available. I'm Dhananjay Mahajan, like I said, or DJ Data. So you can send me questions later if you have any, and happy to entertain anything. If you are a customer, MSP and others, do connect with me and do let me know. Robert got his stickers.